Hello, welcome to Beyond the Fourth Wall, an audio look at the visual arts in Denton, Texas, the home of happiness. Streaming live from the beautiful historic campus theater in beautiful downtown Denton, we are in the mezzanine. I am your host, Damon Wadico, and next to me is an empty chair because the best dressed man in Denton, once again, is not here with us tonight. He promises to be back. Hope he is soon, and hope everything is okay. For the calendar, we've got coming up a lot of things. MTD's Young Frankenstein, based on the Mel Brooks film. This is a live stage musical that starts it'll be October 18th, 19th, 24th, 25th, and 26th at 7:30 p.m. And October 20th and 27th are the 2 o'clock matinees, and those are on Sunday. Also coming up from Denton Community Theater, just in time for Halloween. In fact, the day after Halloween, November 1st, is War of the Worlds at the Point Bank Black Box, something I can never say. That theater is located at 318 East Hickory. That's our little sister theater, the Black Box, and that is, like I said, November 1st and 2nd, and that will be at 8 p.m., and November 3rd at 2 p.m. And this is going to be sort of, they will be performing the script of the original Orson Welles radio broadcast from the 1930s, so it's kind of nostalgic, and I believe that DentonRadio.com will be there to record it, and hopefully we'll be able to play it back for any of you that can't make the live show, but I think the live show is going to be really a special treat. Then DCT will have Urinetown coming up in November. With a name like Urinetown, you know it's got to be good. This show is just a silly, fun, old-fashioned melodrama that makes fun of politics and economics and even other musicals. It's a lot of fun, and that will be starting November 8th. And we will be talking about that more as that gets even a little closer. Also, right now, and I'm sure if Mike was here, he would want me to let you know about Beaujolais, which is our big yearly fundraiser. And Beaujolais and more is it's a big party for $25. You can get in, you can sample food from restaurants from all over town and different wines from all over the world. There's door prizes, a lot of fun, and tickets are on sale for that now. You'll want to get them soon because that is always a big event and always sells out. So call the campus box office. You can Google that, and they'll get you hooked up with tickets. Finally, today our guest is Mr. Johnny Williams, very talented gentleman of the theater, actor, director, producer, production board member, play selection committee. What else? Musician, artist. Hello, Johnny.
Hello, Damon.
How are you doing this evening?
Well, I'm doing all right. A little disappointed, though. I listened to the program you had with Dennis, and you were very effusive about him being one of your favorite actors. Now, you had told me earlier that I am your favorite actor throughout the Metroplex, and you didn't mention that in the introduction.
Oh, no.
I'm a little shocked.
Wow, what was I going to tell Dennis? Please, screw Dennis. You are my favorite actor.
Well, thank you. Finally, I really had to work to get that one out, didn't I?
You also are one of my favorites, and I have several favorites.
Oh,
I don't have a favorite.
You fickle, yeah.
Look, I'm doing this show. Okay, everybody's my favorite.
Right. I'm with you. Okay.
Anyway, I'm trying to think how it is we met. It seems like I've just kind of always known you. I can't remember a time when, that's when I met Johnny.
Yeah, that was in the 30s, wasn't it?
I think it was, the 1930s. The Depression was just prior to World War II.
I stole an apple from you. No, I think the first time we associated at all was during Dennis's production of 1776.
That's what I was wondering. I mean, that was certainly the first time we worked together. Although I'm sure I saw you playing in the band Baloney Moon prior to that, but I didn't really know you. We hadn't really met.
Right.
But I'm sure I saw you there, and I saw you in Man of La Mancha, which I think was also before 1776.
Yes, it was.
So I had seen you, but the first time we really interacted was we were filling out the Declaration of Independence.
Yeah, and my life's been on a downhill slope ever since.
Mine too.
No.
We need to do it again. We have to work again together. So besides being an actor, a director, and a producer, I've also heard that you are and this I did not know, you're an artist. You're a visual artist.
No.
Well, I know.
Not. No, my wife
I was going to say,
well-known visual
I know that
artist.
Jo is your wife, and for some reason I thought you were involved in that as well. No.
Well, I am involved in that. My wife often needs help with what she does with the Visual Arts Society of Texas. It's a local two-dimensional, well, actually, 2- and 3-dimensional art organization that meets once a month and puts on a really good program every month for people to come and watch about different techniques. She's had some really special people on there. Harlan Butt, who's a well-known, world-renowned metal sculptor who works at one of the universities here, did a program once. Some beautiful, wonderful photographers, watercolor painters, acrylic, oils, all the arts, all the visual arts. They do a wonderful program, and they do shows for kids, and they do a kids show, and do a 125-mile show where they invite artists from within a 125-mile range to enter their shows.
And I'm guessing if anybody listening wanted to take a look at some of their work, they probably have a website.
Yeah, I'm sure they do. It's not up to date. That's something that they're really intending to work on, just haven't gotten to it. But it's called VAST, Visual Arts Society of Texas.
Well, good
Hey, Joe,
acronym.
how about that? I got a plug-in for you, huh?
That's a good acronym. So Jo, your wife, she's the artist. What's her medium? Just out of
Watercolor.
She's a watercolor.
She's done quite a number of media. She's painted in oils and did well, and painted in pastels and did really well, and then went to watercolor somewhere along the way, and she just really enjoys the interplay of the brush and the water media and the paper. She can talk to you a while about different kinds of paper.
Well, we will have her on as a guest sometime because we do, while we focus mostly on the performance arts, we also would like to do more with
this
some
is supposed to be
visual
about
artists.
me, not her.
Well, this is, of course. You're a brave man, my friend.
She's listening.
I hope
Love
so.
you, dear.
So, coming back to you, sir, because you are the guest. When did you get involved with local theater and DCT?
Well, I noticed Dennis Welch mentioned the production of Our Town that was held in the Civic Center back in 1969, 68, 69. I forget. Joe and I saw that, but we weren't involved that time. I was doing graduate
been
work
in
at UNT.
diapers.
Pardon me?
You must have been in diapers then.
No, I wasn't, as a matter of fact. But then I finished my degree in 70 from North Texas State University, now UNT, in theater, and went off to do some time with Uncle Sam. 3 years, 7 months, and 2 days, but I wasn't counting.
Right.
We came back to Denton in 74, spring of 74, intended to be here 2 or 3 years. And what year is this? Okay, never mind. And then the position of managing director came up, and I applied and got it.
Oh, wow.
I learned my acting chops pretty well, so I could act for this board who was going to hire me or not hire me. I could act like I knew what I was doing, and that's always served me well through life.
Now, is that the job that Mr. Barrow does now?
Yeah, except he gets paid for a full-time job. I worked a full-time job, got paid for a part-time job, and had an office about as big as that MTD closet right there. And
someone's office.
No other paid. But it's a closet. It's no other paid staff. Just Johnny Williams.
Yeah.
But, you know, I met some wonderful people during those times. Wonderful. And you know the Barrows. Oh, such a wonderful family. And so many others. Most of them you don't know. But then I directed my first production with DCT in that year, in 1974. I think I opened the season in September. Did a show called... written by Gene Kerr, same woman who wrote Please Don't Eat the Daisies. And I cast my wife, Jo Williams, in that play.
Now you were directing?
I directed that, yeah.
Now, was this back in the legendary Firehouse days?
That was in the Firehouse days.
Wow.
And by the way, it is City Hall West. You and Dennis struggle with
we
that
don't know. We just live. I just live in this town.
It's where the sun goes down, you know?
Yes, sun sets.
In the west. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you did that, and but you've stayed with it the whole time.
I stayed really active for 2 years. I was managing director for a year and a half.
Okay.
But then I got a job in Dallas managing a theater restaurant.
Oh, wow.
And did that for about a year and a half.
Now, what was that?
It was a 1520 AD English theater restaurant. It was supposedly staged in the favorite pub of King Henry VIII. And it had jesters and wenches and served big old turkey legs and big goblets of wine.
It sounds like a smaller version of medieval times, only without the horses and the
without
poop
the
smell.
horses. Yeah, we didn't have sword fights. We had jugglers and King Henry VIII's favorite jester was there.
And what was your job there?
Well, I managed it.
Okay.
I sometimes did the show, depending on it. We had.
I'm trying to picture you like in the jester's outfit with, bells.
No. The only role I ever played was a character named Bates, who was referred to as Master Bates. And
of course.
He worked at the inn, and I also played the king. I didn't play any of the wenches. I didn't play the jester. I didn't play the piano. But it was one of those, there was a set script per se,
right.
But every night was
a lot
totally
of improv,
lots of improv.
Wow.
And I worked for another improv group called Bread and Circus. Shout out there to some others in that, Connie Lambert and Bill Blank, who's down in New Orleans now, Jim Wilson, who I might be listening to us. I don't know.
You never know who's going to listen.
Oh, yeah. John Everts. We had a great time in those days. And it was improv as well. Melodramers, but improv. We played White Elephant Saloon one entire summer. And, so I learned my chops in a lot of different ways. But I directed shows off and on through the years with DCT. As I got older, not as old as I am now, but more mature, middle age, whatever. I really, Damon, I prefer directing. A lot of people don't know that.
Well, I was going to ask you that.
But yeah, I prefer directing. I think I'm a pretty good actor, and I can.
Oh, I think you're a really good
pull off
actor.
a lot of shtick, and I can play serious roles and have played serious roles. But I really love directing. But as I got older, I worked for Acme Brick for 34 years. A very responsible job. Believe it or not, they trusted me with a lot of things. And it got to where I didn't have the energy to direct anymore. It just my job took too much out of me. I could act because all I had to worry about was me. But as a director, you've got the whole realm, the gestalt.
I don't know because I've never directed, and I do not want to.
Your darling Julie.
She definitely
directs. So you know what
Hello,
she goes
sweetie.
through with that. Hello, sweetie. Oh, I can't. No, Julie. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to call you sweetie on the air. Joe, I didn't mean that. Okay.
But yeah.
Anyway, I got to where I just didn't have the energy for it anymore.
Sure.
And got to where I only did a show, acting or audition for a show about every 2 years, roughly. But I retired end of March last year. I have done several shows since then. I've worked on probably 3 out of 4 sets have been done down here. I directed one of the one-act plays in the competition in the spring. And I'm directing, and we'll talk about that some more.
We're about to, yes.
Who's in Bed with a Butler that opens in January, and I'm really looking forward to that. It's something I think I can really do well with. It's a fast-paced comedy. I've directed Neil Simon several times and had some pretty good success with that. And it needs to be directed like a Neil Simon play. It's got to click, 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 click.
Well, it's kind of a farce, right?
Oh, it is definitely a farce. Yeah. You'd call it a bedroom farce, except you never see the bedroom.
despite the name, which is
Who's in Bed with the Butler?
right. So when are auditions coming up for that?
They are November 11th and 12th, I believe. That's true.
You might see yours truly out there. I don't know.
Yeah. Anyway, if you're interested, please check out a script from the box office here down at the Historic Campus Theater and take a look at it. It's really an amazingly funny script. And the playwright and his wife, who they write plays together, said, "We know that our plays don't have any great literary merit. What
Yeah.
we're after is to bring people in and put their bums in the seat for 2 hours and leave feeling great because they've had a wonderful time."
Well, we've already done August Osage County, so I think, which does have literary merit. So now it's time to maybe take a break from.
I'm glad it has literary merit. I'm sorry, that's a script I didn't particularly care for.
Really?
I told Mildred early on. She asked me about audition. I said, "Mildred, I don't like the script."
Wow, that's funny because I really do love.
Yeah,
that
I
play.
know. You and I have different
We
ideas.
do. We have different
Yeah,
tastes,
yeah.
and but I think that's why we work so well together.
Oh, you think? Oh,
I don't know.
oh, sweetie.
So
The people out there can't see how closely together we're sitting.
they don't know that you're on my lap.
I wasn't going to go that far, Damon. I mean, as far as letting people know what we were doing.
So is there anything else that we need to know about Who's in Bed with the Butler?
Well, it's actually got more women than men, which is somewhat unusual in scripts today.
Yeah, and welcome.
And there is an elderly, cantankerous maid who's stone deaf and refuses to keep her hearing aid turned on. That's one of the 5 women. There is an actress who is hired to play like she's married to the butler to get him through a certain situation.
Okay.
There is the daughter of the rich tycoon who has died and left his $40 million art treasures to a bimbo number 1 and his $30 million car collection to bimbo number 2 and his his yacht to bimbo number 3. And his daughter, the deceased's daughter, comes in with a lawyer and wants to know exactly what's going on. See, she was left the estate, but none of the other things. And the lawyer's a shyster, and the lawyer's hired a detective who is an absolute fumble bum. He's a malaprop. Everything he says is not what he means to say,
Right.
but he doesn't even know it.
Yeah, I have that problem sometimes myself, so I know.
And then there's the butler.
Yes, I was wondering.
Who's kind of a Sly Fox character. He's you don't expect much from him at first. He's pretty low key, and he's a butler, and he's deferential, but he learned through the years how to get some things that he might not have gotten otherwise, not through any crooked means whatsoever. Just kind of outsmarted the old man.
So it's sort of the servant outsmarting the masters.
Perhaps you could say that, yeah.
Which is a classic setup.
Yes, it is.
throughout,
Yeah.
Drama for sure, and comedy.
Well, he says once to the daughter, "Your father was not a very good poker player."
I think that tells us a lot about the character. So, do you prefer, when you're directing, do you have a preference to say drama or comedy or musicals even? Or
I've directed a couple of musicals. I directed Oliver back in the Stone Age.
yeah, before my time.
It's when we were performing in the Civic Center. And I directed A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Forum
I
in the
love that
Civic
show.
Center.
That's a funny show.
And had a wonderful, wonderful cast of people. Oh, they were wonderful. You know, one of the things, I kid people about, everything's about me, but one of the things I've learned through the years is the collaborative nature of the theater and how it's works so much better if everybody has the same buy-in as everybody else. And even the guy who's sweeping the stage before you start is important.
Sure.
So, yeah.
And we've all done some of that. Yeah, the theater can be like a family. Most of my
Absolutely.
family is now, in fact, they're all pretty much out of state, and the theater has sort of become the home from home.
Well,
And
I kind of relate it. Excuse me, this may offend some people. I've never been to war, but I kind of equate it with the kind of brotherhood that men at arms reach, because you overcome common obstacles. Together, you make this work, and it wouldn't have worked with any one person or another. It took the entire group to make it happen.
yes,
Yeah,
yes.
you develop bonds.
I don't know if I've ever felt it comparable to going to war, but
Well, I
I've
don't
always
know.
equated it to like a sports team.
I'm a sports team. Okay. Well,
But
I played
that's-
sports in high school, but I'm a history buff, so
Very good.
Yeah.
I've never been to war either, so,
No.
except on stage.
I was supposed to go,
And
but
backstage.
I was supposed to go, but I told them no, I wasn't going to. So.
So you said you found directing certainly more fulfilling creatively.
Yeah.
But you're also a musician. How about music? Does that also fill that?
Oh yeah. Well, I'm not playing in a band anymore.
I understand that.
Kind of got tired of lugging equipment. We used to say we got paid to move equipment, not to sing. But I do sing today with the community chorus, which meets on Thursday nights, and we have a performance coming up on October 26th at 4 p.m. at the Lutheran Church next to Sonic on University Drive. And so you got to plug in there for you, Monty and Natalie. And I'm also singing with the Denton Senior Center Chorus, which is just a blast. I think I'm probably the youngest one there, but we have a wonderful time.
Well, I'm going to put in a little plug because I know that sometimes you and your former band, Baloney Moon, are in rotation right here on DentonRadio.com. And I wish we had something to play for the folks because I love Cheap Perfume. I never got
thank
tired
you.
of Cheap
Thank you.
It
It was. I didn't write it, but I
always thought you'd wrote that.
No,
You really made it your own.
A fellow named Boone. His first name escapes me. He died a few years ago. Boone, Boone and Cindy Maloney started the group, so they called it Baloney Moon and Maloney instead of Maloney Boone. Anyway, he wrote that, and it worked well in my range and my delivery. And yeah, a lot of people tell me that oh man, that's your song.
Oh, it fits your voice, your whole.
That one and a J.J. Cale number I used to do is probably my best with Baloney Moon. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. So. Even though you prefer directing, we should expect to see you on stage again as an actor, I'm guessing. And the thing I'm wondering is, do you have a dream role, a role you haven't got to do yet, and you may never get to do, but is there that one in your head that you would love to really do?
I'm so darn fortunate, Damon. I've played so many wonderful roles. I've played Othello, believe it or not, back in the late or early 70s. I played Othello, a white man in Texas playing Othello. I
wasn't going to say a word.
I played Cervantes, Don Quixote, Man of La Mancha. I played that role. Actually, I've been fortunate. I've played it 3 times. I played Bill Starbuck in a production of The Rainmaker and a production of the 110 The Shade, the musical version of The Rainmaker. Bill Starbuck, wonderful role. He's kind of like the rogue in Music Man. Very much like that. Comes into town and he's got this knack for selling himself, and very much like that story. He meets a young woman who's never been married, and his family, her family, they've never built her up. She thinks she's a ugly little mouse, and she blossoms during the production, and a wonderful story.
Oh, like an ugly duckling kind of thing.
Pardon me?
Like an ugly duckling kind of story.
Oh yeah. Oh, kind of like Maid Marian in The Music Man. Let's see. I've also played. I've played in Fantastics. I played Matt, young man, back when I was doing community theater in Blytheville, Arkansas, while I was in the Air Force. I played the old actor twice, and I played El Gallo.
Wow. So you have been doing this a really long time. What was it that gave you that acting bug? When did you really start? How old were you the first time you appeared on a stage?
Well, back when I was in the first grade, Frank Barrow and I were in a pub in London, and William Shakespeare walked in. I remember, I was in first grade.
Okay.
And no, my first role on stage was as a first grader. I played Sleep in a play that we did.
Like Mr. Sandman?
Well, I got to wear pajamas and come out yawning and talk about how important sleep was. It was that kind of show.
Yeah.
It was the days before the sex education movies, So
there were live shows about
it was
sleep.
pretty tame at that time.
Kids go to sleep.
And then I was in a show called Don't Take My Penny in junior high. But then I think what really gave me the bug, I played Chief Sitting Bull in the straight production, not musical production, of Annie Get Your Gun. And that was in my senior year. And I had a senior English teacher who directed, and wonderfully, wonderfully inspiring woman. She was tough as a bucket of nails, but she really helped people prepare themselves for what's out there. And she was very encouraging in spite of this tough exterior. Wonderful woman. And then I was lucky, and then I went to a junior college, so I got some really nice roles right away. I played Joe Keller in All My Sons as an 18-year-old freshman in college.
Oh, I love that play.
Well,
That's
yeah,
a great part.
but an 18-year-old shouldn't play
Well,
Joe Keller.
I'm sure you were magnificent. You're right. I'm trying to imagine it.
And I was in The Importance of Being Earnest at that time, and learned something about different acting styles from a fellow named Jerry Roberts. And
So you caught the bug early and just kept running with it.
yeah, I caught the bug.
I know
I
the
caught the
feeling.
bug. I love performing.
So let's see. Oh, well, okay. So as an actor, you have already played a number of your dream parts.
Yeah.
Parts you never probably
Yeah.
even imagined you'd get
Yeah.
to do. As a director, dream project, a play that you really. And I ask you this because I know that Brad Speck, Mr. Speck, he has a lot of dream projects. So.
Yeah. Well, Brad, I guess, thinks a little more globally than I do. He wants
big.
he wants to direct every classical play that was ever written, and I'm not sure. Well, okay, this may not sound good. I'm not sure.
On the air, don't forget.
Yeah, I'm on the air, but I'm not sure a lot of those things are worth going to the trouble to bring to local modern audiences. And I'm not knocking local. I mean, I think at Denton, I think we have some very good audiences in Denton, but that stuff, it's so tough. And you've got to pull off more than just filling a role. You got to be believable as someone from another era, another culture, another language, even though it may be English.
Right.
But it would be the Queen's English instead of our English. It's so difficult to pull that stuff off. And even if you have 5 really strong principles, you've still got 20 more people you've got to have that the audience will enjoy seeing.
Right.
So
that being said, do you have any dream projects that are really you're just dying to do?
Oh, my goodness. Why did you tell me you were going to ask me that question?
Oh.
I'm not prepared to answer it.
I ask that because even though I do not direct and I'm terrified about directing, I have dream projects that I would like to direct.
Well, I know they're doing a show next season by Horton Foote, and I've not had a chance to read it yet. And at the moment, I can't even recall the name of it. But I think I would like to do that sort of thing next, a very intimate piece, a very quiet piece. I think I'd like to try that. I haven't done that sort of thing in quite a number of years.
So something a bit more dramatic.
Yeah, more dramatic. It's dramatic, but it's a comedy.
Right.
But still very sensitive, as all of his work is, very sensitive to the inner feelings of his characters. And he builds wonderful characters that you can feel for. And I'd like to do that.
Now, you've been, you also, besides everything else you do, act, direct, you also serve on the production board.
Yeah.
And I think last season, you may have produced almost half that season. You were doing a lot of producing.
Well, no, I really wasn't, Damon. It may have looked like it.
From where I was
No,
sitting,
I
because I tried to
don't
get
want-
out of every producing
No,
job.
In fact, the ones I was, in quotations, producer of or co-producer of with Mark Jadrich, I really did very little. But I did something on practically every show. Helped
Yeah.
with set, helped round up
Oh,
props,
sure.
different things. I was involved. And that's where I wanted to be all those years of my working life. I wanted to be doing this, and so now I can. So it's wonderful.
Yeah, I mean, since I guess you have more time with your
Yeah,
retirement,
absolutely.
you can really immerse yourself
Yeah.
doing what you love.
Yeah.
And I'm just glad that you did volunteer to produce for shows because I found out I hate producing. That's why I'm not on that board. I could say I'm too busy, but really I'm just too lazy.
Oh, no.
And some shows are easier to produce than others. We know that. Some of them almost produce themselves.
Yeah.
But every now and then you'll get directors from out of town who've never worked at this theater,
Right.
and producing can be, as
A
I'm
challenge,
sure you
a
know,
challenge,
it
sure.
can be challenging.
Yeah.
It really can. Sometimes they expect you to put together the whole crew for them.
I hear music playing in the background. Does that mean anything?
That is, are you talking about the rehearsals for Young
I'm
Frankenstein?
talking about over my headset.
Oh, your ears are better than mine, my friend. And that is all we have time for. Our guest was Johnny Williams. Thank you so much for being
Thank
here.
you. It was quite a pleasure.
And I'll tell you what, if Mike Barrow, my co-host, isn't here next week, I'm changing the whole format of the show and the name. This is going to be the Damon Show. Anyway, thanks to Polly Maynard. The music you're listening to is from her disc called The Parasol. And thanks, as always, to DentonRadio.com, your one-stop listening place for all the great local music in town. Also, you can catch this show in reruns in podcast format on iTunes. Our email address is fourthwallradio@hotmail.com. Please write to us your suggestions, comments, insults. Send us something. And that's it. Thanks to Jake Logan, our sound engineer, and I think I'm out of music.